Welcome to An Unconventional Life, a podcast where we share stories about the crazy 1% out there who earned their doctoral degrees and then went on to use them in crazy, cool, unique, and unconventional ways. Here's your host, astrophysicist turned teacher, author, dissertation coach, and more, Dr. Russell Strickland.
Hello and welcome to An Unconventional Life podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Russell Strickland, the founder and CEO of Dissertation Done and Expand Your Authority. I have with me today Dr. Chaz Austin, who's an expert in self-marketing for the gig economy. He's worked with private clients around the world and taught courses for Los Angeles Pierce College since 2017. His most recent book is 101 Ways to Find Work and Keep Finding Work for the Rest of Your Career. He's a TEDx speaker. I'm just really excited to talk with Dr. Austin today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Good to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
You're quite welcome. I'd like to let everyone know that today's episode is being brought to you by Dissertation Done. And at Dissertation Done, we help adult doctoral students through the dissertation process. So if you are feeling slow, stuck, or stalled out in the dissertation, reach out to us at dissertationdone.com/done. And we'll see if we can't help you to fast track your dissertation, get it done in less time than you thought possible. And if perhaps you would like to be an expert and work with private clients around the world, there's no better way to do that than to not only have the first name doctor, but also be a published author. To have literally written the book on your area of expertise is an amazing calling card. And we help you do that through our Expand Your Authority program. You can find out more by reaching out to us at dissertationdone.com/book. So again, Dr. Austin, welcome. How are you today?
I'm very good, very well. Thank you. How are you, Doctor?
All right. So one of the things I like to ask first is, it's an unusual choice to pursue a doctoral degree. Only about 1% of the folks out there in the population have them. And so we're the weird ones in a sense. What was it that inspired you to decide to pursue your doctoral degree?
A couple of things I would say. First of all, I wanted the intellectual stimulation. And the second reason was credibility. The things I wanted to do in my career, I needed the doctorate to expand the playing field as sort of a passport to people who would not talk to me or take me as seriously without the doctorate.
Absolutely. I was reading some years ago that of all people, Shaquille O'Neal said the exact same thing. He actually earned his EDD some years ago because he said that as he reached the end of his playing career, he knew he was going to get into more business ventures and he wanted to be taken seriously in that realm. And you would think if celebrity and status and domination in the NBA had anything to do with business, he would be set. But even he decided, I'd like that credibility as well. So that's really amazing, that connection. So you made that decision to move into the doctoral degree. Where did that come in your career? How at what point in your life did you do that?
I would say about 10 years into my current career, and I had a vision of what I wanted my work to become and how I wanted it to impact people. And I knew I needed that extra push that the doctoral degree would give me to be taken seriously. So it was time to get to that next level.
Yeah, it certainly opens a lot of doors. I don't know how many folks I've talked to that have just told me about the amazing things that they were doing that they never planned to do while they were in school. You had a plan, but a lot of folks, they're just going through and they think they're going this way, and then all of these other opportunities open up.
And I wanted to write a book too, and I did that deliberately. I wanted the book to say Dr. Charles Michael Austin. So first the degree and then the book, because I knew I would be taken more seriously, and I have been, no question.
Yeah, and that's exactly the way we work with some of our former students and other folks as well. Get that first name doctor, and then put that on the book jacket because, like I said, first name doctor, and you literally wrote the book on your area of expertise. I mean, who else is going to compete with you at that point? That's
the point of the doctorate, as far as I'm concerned, is that you become the go-to person, the expert in that field. That's who people call on. That's who people they call on you to do podcasts and radio interviews and speak at conferences and keynote and so on, because you're just taken much more seriously.
Yeah, 100%. Well, listen, when you made that decision, you're very well aligned with my philosophy about fast tracking your dissertation. That's my book. In fact, it's called Fast Track Your Dissertation. Mm-hmm. And that's our goal with our students. I view it as there are two different types of doctoral students, just for purposes of this discussion. There's traditional, who go from high school to college to graduate school, and they want to be research professors. And they're doing this as a 20-some-year-old kid without all the responsibilities that adults have, like mortgages and families and church and civic commitments and all the other things. Then we've got the unconventional group, which has all of those adult responsibilities. And they're usually doing this while juggling their career as well. And so that's the exact same scenario you were in. You had a plan for getting through your dissertation and your doctoral degree program in general when you started. How did that go when you got into your doctoral program? How did it go initially with the classes?
I just had a vision, and I was willing to push through some of the required courses that, frankly, I felt I could teach, not be a student in, and actually went to my department chair and said, look, some of these courses I really could teach. I would like independent study. And they said, we've never done that before. I said, well, you're going to start with me. And they did, in fact, give me independent study. This was a tool, as any degree is, to get me into things that I wanted to do in my career. So I made it work for me. I guess one of the unusual things about my story is from the moment I started until I finished the dissertation, 3.5 years, I was on turbocharge. This was going to happen. And what was really an advantage for me, which I didn't know going in, was because I was older, I was a better student. I could not have done this when I was younger because I was distracted. But in this case, doing it at the age I did it, I was so focused that I managed to finish it that quickly, because I have things to do. I need this degree. I need the credibility. Yes. And then I can go and write the book and do 2 books now and do all the things I wanted to do, one of which was teach at the university level. And they wouldn't talk to me with just a master's degree, even though I'd been a professor for 10 years, over 10 years. But with the doctorate, suddenly I started to teach at the university level. I taught at Loyola Marymount University, Chapman University. That opened things up for me in a way that would not have happened before and didn't.
Absolutely. So that's a record pace. I mean, I have to look back to see about how long I took. I think I did something similar, but I have to go do the math now. But in going through at that pace, were there any challenges along the way? Were there, obviously you mentioned the independent study and dealing with the administration so that you could tailor the degree to yourself, but were there any points where you felt slowed down or stuck for any reason?
In the opening page, one of the opening pages, the dedication page on the dissertation, it said the hard part was the typing, not the writing. What slowed me down was after I passed my second defense, and then I had to do all the paperwork, IRB, all that stuff. And I actually hired, I got my doctorate from Pepperdine University out here in Malibu, California. I actually hired an editor who had worked at Pepperdine to handle all this stuff, because I was never going to be good at the margins and all. That's my expertise is the content, but I needed that. Best $800 I ever spent, because she worked with the people at Pepperdine and the IRB to make sure that everything was according to the way it should be. That made me a little crazy at the end. It's like, congratulations, I did my second defense, congratulations, doctor. And then it was another 9 months of paperwork. And it was, is this ever going to finish? And it did. Yeah, so that was the holdup after they said you're a doctor. Now the hard part for me began, which was all the formatting and all that craziness, but it got done.
Absolutely, and you bring up a very, very important point. So many doctoral students that I encounter think that they have to do it all themselves. They think that being heroic is like Atlas holding the world on his shoulder. And I think being heroic is being able to figure out the quickest and easiest way to get there, because you're going to get the same credit and the same degree, whether you torture yourself or make it easy along the way.
One of my mantras now is you don't need the answers, you need the resources.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
One of my mentors calls that the who, not the how. And I think
it's collaborative. There's certain areas I'm strong in, so I will farm it out to this wonderful editor who did the stuff I couldn't do, didn't want to do. I suppose I could have done it if I'd taken another 3 or 4 years, but I wasn't willing to spend more time on this. So I was happy to pay her, and she was wonderful. And I referred her to someone else, a colleague of mine, who later did a dissertation, and she said she was wonderful too. Yeah. So yeah, it's a team effort. And you need to learn to be collaborative with other people. And I know what my strengths are. I know where my strengths are not. Okay. And then I have people to help me, including the dissertation, including, I suppose I could do my own taxes, but I have a tax person that does it.
That, right.
You know, because I don't want to ramp up for 10 years to figure out how to do it and get to the point she's at.
Yeah. The folks in Congress don't know how to do their own taxes. None of them have read the tax code.
Yeah.
An accountant to read that thing.
Yeah. It's the point was not to, the point was to get it done. Okay. Right. And anybody who could help me do that, I enrolled, and it got done.
Yeah. And some people will ask, well, what about ethics in academia? Clearly, you're not talking about someone doing the writing for you and pulling together your information. It's still your dissertation, but what we're looking at here is the ancillary help. All universities that I'm aware of say, hire an editor. It's fine. You don't have to develop that skill set. We're testing whether you are good at education, not at editing. And hire someone to help you with your data analysis. And we help people with sort of project management, just staying on track and what do I do next and how do I keep going, accountability and that sort of thing.
I had a coach and a mentor, someone with a doctorate from Columbia University. And what you do with a coach is you shut up and listen. You don't vote. You say, yes, ma'am. And you follow the simple instructions because she's been there before. I did the heavy lifting. But some of this stuff isn't my area of expertise. I'm not going to pretend I'm a great editor on dissertations. Thank goodness she was there, and I was smart enough to hire her, and she did that area so I could get it done. The point was ultimately the content and how I could bring that to the world once I had that doctorate. So whatever help I could get, I took and I looked for, because there was an ultimate goal here.
And I think that makes so much sense. And I'll tell people, as a dissertation coach, I don't want to sound self-serving and say, you have to come and get my help. There's a lot of places you can go, and you don't have to pay for that help. You find people who've been through the process before who might be willing to answer some questions, sit with you and talk to you, advise you. There are all sorts of ways to do this. I personally believe that hiring a coach is one of the best ways to do it, but there are lots of ways of doing it. But it is important that you get someone in your circle who's been there and done that before, because the dissertation is not a natural thing. Nobody, comes out of the womb and learns how to crawl, walk, and then write a dissertation. You've got to talk to people, and you got to figure some things out to make that happen.
It's everything in life is about collaboration. And it's really important you reach out to other people who, exactly as you said, have done it before. So you realize you're not alone. Oh, I thought it was me. No, it's not you. Another 20,000 people have gone through exactly the same process. Okay, relax. We'll get it handled as a team. So you assemble a team to help you out, because you're right. It's a very unnatural sort of thing to do. But a lot of the content in my dissertation went into my first book. So it was multi-purpose. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, that's a good transition. Let's talk about the book, because this idea of self-marketing in the gig economy, I think is fascinating. I think so many folks in our audience, that is going to hit them pretty square, because they're either going to want to be, a coach or consultant or something like that. And one way or the other, that is effectively putting them in this gig economy.
Yeah. which is the way it's going. And statistics are showing that more than 50% of the working force in this country will be freelancers in another 6 years.
Yeah.
I know. So you have to be prepared for that. And what I do is shift people's thinking. The way I call it, it's a shift in consciousness without the use of drugs. It's a new way. It's a new way to think about the working world, and getting people past the 20th century. And the whole idea that, if I get a degree, whatever it is, and I work hard and I'm a loyal worker, I'll have work for 40 years. No, that was your grandparents.
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't work like that anymore. There's corporate loyalty is gone. I don't care, for the most part. I don't care how hard you work. If they can find a cheaper way to do it, you're out. Don't let the door hit you in the butt on the way out. Thank you for your loyal service, but we found a robot to do it, or someone in another country who works for half the money, or someone half your age who works for half the money. Sorry. So I've worked with so many people who are, particularly baby boomers, who are just gobsmacked. I did everything I was supposed to. I deserve a job. Yeah. I was a vice president. I have all these accomplishments. I made all this money for my company. And now I can't even get an interview. It's because you're too old and too expensive. And at a certain point, the sooner the better, you have to start to look at yourself as a brand and a business, and stop looking for a job so much and look more for work. Short-term gig jobs, or gigs, project work, and you build a business that way based on your expertise.
I know I had an experience, gosh, how long ago was it now? Almost 20 years ago. I had a good job. I'd actually moved from Chicago halfway across the country to work with this company. And then some things happened at the corporate level. That was a subsidiary, and they got sort of absorbed, and a few things happened. And then one day somebody walked into my office and was like, yeah, you're not working here anymore. And I went from making good money to no money in 5 minutes. And that was the point which I decided no one's going to have that kind of control over me again. And I haven't gone back to a corporate kind of existence since.
I personally backed into being an entrepreneur. As I say, I have an addiction to eating. I'm too old and too expensive. No one's going to hire me. And at this point in my life, I don't particularly want to report to a boss. I want to report to this boss. Yeah. Or I had an accountant years ago. I said, you're your own boss. He said, no. I have 50 clients. I have 50 bosses. Right. So in a sense, you can look at it that way. But so two things are required. One is you're hustling all the time for work. Yeah. And the other is you gotta stay sane and kind of get used to this, and enjoy the freedom it brings, that you can sit in your jammies and do work for clients, and they don't care how hard you work. They care, did you deliver on time? And if you do the job well, they'll hire you again, and they will also refer you for work, and you actually build a business. The difference is my approach. You have multiple income streams. Yes. So if one client drops out, you still got money coming in. The old approach, which is, if you look at it, your boss or your company you work for, that's one client. If they go away, you're on the unemployment line. Yep. Oh my God, what do I do now? I went from this much money to nothing. Yeah. I don't want people to be in that situation. So they have to plan for it.
So what if someone was going to, is thinking about planning for it? I know some folks that are thinking about this sort of thing for retirement. Whatever the situation is, what would you advise? What's the first step to beginning this process?
To plan on retiring?
Well, no, to get into this gig economy. What's the first step? Maybe you have a job, maybe you're going to be retiring soon, or maybe you're just thinking about leaving that job, but you need to figure out how you're going to make that transition to doing something else useful for yourself, the economy, and your bank account.
Just to quickly speak about retirement, I had a friend who said, I plan to retire 5 years after I die.
I might be delaying it a little bit, but I get the point.
It's what I do with my clients is we have to, in order, define, articulate, and sell your brand. And people have no concept of, first of all, that they're a brand. What like Apple or Microsoft or Coca-Cola, you're a brand. So I have to really shift their consciousness about, and I use a SWOT analysis, which is used for business, but my assertion is that people are now their own business as a brand, okay? So what are your strengths? And the strengths are not general, like I work hard and I'm a good team player. No. What are the strengths you have that people in your industry will pay for, or people in the new industry you want to enter would pay for? What are the transferable skills? Okay, that's what we're selling. Out of that, we develop a soundbite, a LinkedIn profile, redo a resume, or if you're really going to go off on your own, instead of a resume, the resume becomes the foundation for a bio, which you now post on your website, which you may need. Okay, particularly if you're working internationally. Yes. And then it's practicing the soundbite and how to interview and so on, so that you can articulate the message. And then the third part is to sell it. And that's where the big resistance comes in. I don't want to sell. I shouldn't have to sell. Sorry, everybody's in sales now. Like you have a business, you're always selling. So you have to focus on your target audience. Who are the people who, given your skill set and experience, would say, oh, we could use you. You're not looking for fans. I have over 30,000 followers on LinkedIn. So I'm not interested in being the most popular boy in my high school class, okay? It's about business, yes? It's about people for whom your skill set will resonate. And they will say, not only am I impressed, but we want to hire you, yeah? And you need to be open to it's short-term work, probably. It's not going to be what your grandpa had or grandma had, where it's you have a long-term job forever. Okay, it's short-term. You need to think in a different way. So that's the process I go through with my clients to get them into the mindset that this is the new reality. And I always caution them: you're probably not going to like having to do this. Sorry, I'm not interested in your liking the process. I'm interested in your making money and continuing to make money that relates to something you're really good at and enjoy doing.
And figure out ways to like the process too. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, change is hard. Change is hard on everyone, but there's nothing wrong with looking at what that new world is and figuring out what the benefits are.
Yeah, in my book, there are a number of sections about how to stay sane through all this. And you get to the other side, this isn't bad. I don't have to go to my boss. It's Friday at noon. I finished all my work for the week. My clients are good. I'm going to take the rest of the day off. You don't have to go to the boss and say, is it okay? Excuse me, it's noon. You have a lot of work to. No. And you can get up at 10 o'clock and you can work in your jammies if you're talking on the phone with people, or if you're on Zoom, as long as the top half looks good, that sort of thing. Okay, you can take a break for a couple of hours and have lunch with an old friend. These are things you couldn't do. People are so used to the safe harbor of a job and a company that they're loyal to that this is frightening for them. So I have to work through their anxiety about it, and the fact that I'm asking them to use skills they've never had to use before. But what I do is I always have a smartphone and I say, you learn to use this, you can learn to self-market too. That's what's appropriate given the 21st century workplace.
Now, how do you go from developing the brand and the message, the bio, all of those things, to, you called it selling, but I would just say generally getting the word out? How do people know about your brand, about you, about the fact that they might want to hire you? Now,
depending on what you do, you want to use social media to first contact people. So I use LinkedIn a lot because it's the business platform, but it may not be appropriate depending on what you do. For example, graphic designers, not LinkedIn. There's a website called Behance, BEHANCE.net. That's where graphic designers show their work. LinkedIn, not appropriate for them. Katy Perry has 107, I have 30,000 followers on LinkedIn. Katy Perry has 107 million followers on Twitter.
Yeah.
So you have to know where the audience lives and customize your message for them. Okay. But so many of the people I work with, because I teach business courses, use LinkedIn. So it's a matter of creating a headline that says who you are. And then once that's all set up and the about section's done and everything's in the picture's right, then you reach out to groups and people in your field who ought to know about what you offer because they can use it and pay you.
Right.
And it keeps mushrooming. I continue to get work through LinkedIn. My TEDx talk came through LinkedIn. I was contacted by the people at Mount San Jacinto College, and I didn't know them. They said, we found you on LinkedIn. We'd like you to do a TEDx talk for us. More and more I get that. So I'm the poster child for that. I tell my clients and my students, I said, I'm telling you to do what I've been doing for years. And it's the same process. I'm just a few years ahead of you.
Yeah.
That's all. But you want to, once they get a sense of, oh, okay, I see what I offer and I see who would be interested. And interestingly enough, the soundbite, which is kind of the same thing as the headline on LinkedIn, tells you who your audience is. So mine says, training people to self-market for the gig economy. So who's my audience? You can figure it out. People in education, people in higher education, high school counselors, people who are unemployed, people looking for work, HR people, and it's an endless supply of people. I 30,000 is a max. I can't connect with people anymore. They have to follow me now. Okay, fine. I prefer otherwise, but LinkedIn says, no, that's the rule. Even for authors, because I have 3 courses on LinkedIn Learning. That's it, 30,000. But if you were to analyze it, I would say 95% of the people on there are people who could potentially hire or refer me for work. And this process works.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one of the things that you mentioned in there that I think is important for our audience to understand, you mentioned it very quickly, but it's the concept of making sure that you're telling folks what you can do in the context of what's in it for them. A lot of people like to write about me, and this isn't about you, it's about them. Like, but I'm trying to get a job. No, they're looking for help. So you have to make sure it's all in the context of what you can do for them, how you can make their lives easier, better, make them more.
Very good point. Another one of my mantras, you never go wrong if you focus on your audience.
Yeah.
It's all about them. How can you contribute to what they need to either save the money or make the money? Yeah. So it's what do they need? What do I offer? How do I articulate it in such a way they go, oh, we need that? And how do I upskill over time? So if for example, I'm a graphic designer and they're looking for the next version of Illustrator, I need to learn that because they're going to demand it for any field. So if you need an MBA, you get an MBA. And for me, it was, I needed in education, I need a doctorate to teach at the university level. I got a doctorate. So on the SWOT analysis, it's strengths. And then on the other side, the top right quadrant, it's used to be called weaknesses. I changed it to what's missing. So if you want to be a nurse, yes, and you're really good, you love working in hospitals, you're good with patients and so on. But in order to be a nurse, you have to have an RN, period. Yeah. So that's in the what's missing territory. You want to be a nurse? Get the RN, then you'll be taken seriously, like having a doctorate. They're not, I don't care how good you are, without an RN, they're not going to speak to you and they're not going to hire you. So once you have a commitment,
just like the RN, having the RN gets you the interview, it gets you in the door, it opens up the opportunity, but you still have to convince them that you're going to make their life better.
Yeah. And
same thing with the doctorate, because that's where a lot of folks will think, well, I've got a doctorate degree. I'm part of the 1%, educationally speaking, all true, but you could still lose out to someone who does a better job marketing what they can do.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, absolutely right. I used to joke when I got my doctorate, Harvard didn't call. They didn't say, oh my God, he got his doctorate. No, it meant I could hustle at a higher level. Yes. So it's a combination of having the hard skills and then being personable and people knowing you, because people hire who they know and trust. So your job, once you enter nursing school, to use that as an example, you immediately start at the same day you start school, you immediately start to connect with people at the school, staff, fellow students, faculty, and through social media. And you start to meet people and develop relationships with them.
Right.
Because once they know you and like you, and maybe you do some volunteer work or interning while you're in school, when they have an opening, they're going to think of you. And part of your job is to stay in touch with them, so that you're getting out of school next month. We have something for you. It's night shift, but I'll take it.
Still,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
And then you're in working at the hospital as an RN. I've had so many students I've worked with who say, I'll just deal with my coursework now, and when I'm done, then I'll do the networking. Wrong. You do the networking from the beginning, and then you have a job as soon as you've graduated, maybe even before.
Yeah. I think that's so important. A lot of folks do try to say, I just want to focus on one thing at a time, but getting out there and being always prepared for the next step is very important, particularly in this gig economy. If you wait until the gig is over to go looking for another one, that's not a very good way to feed that food.
Oh, absolutely true. You're self-marketing. You have two jobs now in the gig economy. One is what you do, and the other one is marketing. Constantly. The best students I've ever had, and this is continuous, the best students and clients I've had are people who've worked in the entertainment business, because the entertainment business has been a gig economy for decades.
Right.
So they know, I just talked to someone who works in entertainment. They know the moment you get on set, your first job is to make friends with the other people, because there's a limited amount of time they're shooting. And as soon as it's over, the people are going to move to another production. You want them to know you and like you. So they say, hey, I'm starting a new movie. I'd like you on my crew. Yeah. So they know how to do sound bites, all that kind of stuff coming into me, working with me. What's happened now is every other industry is starting to mirror what the entertainment industry has been forever.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to work with those folks because they already know how to do it.
Yeah. And if you're in a team sort of collaborative environment, like you mentioned on a movie set, where all the pieces move off to the next project soon, then it's very easy to keep up that networking during the project while you're on the job. But if you're not, the social media is a great way to keep up with folks, those connections, that network all the time, because you're not reaching out to people individually often. You're usually posting things and it's one-to-many communication, so that all the folks that you're connected with you can maintain those relationships in a leveraged way.
It's one of the things I say. It's not what you know. It's not simply who you know. Yeah. It's how well that you know each other and how often you stay on their radar. You have to stay on their radar. Every time I do anything, it's always promoted on social media, because I got to remind people, hey, I'm out here. Remember me? Oh, we need to call him, because people are so busy and overwhelmed. They're not going to think of me first, certainly. Yeah. But you have to remind them you're out there, and they already have a sense, because they have a relationship with you, of what it is you can provide. Right. And this is your new life, doing your job and marketing constantly.
Okay.
Like it or not.
Talk about marketing. One of the things that's really big for kind of experts these days is producing content, creating platforms. What do you tell folks about that in terms of the gig economy?
Say a little more about that.
For example, you've written a book, right? And that's a way for people to connect with you. And one of the nice things about having a platform like that is that you develop a sense of celebrity. And some people think that sounds crazy. I'm just, Joe Blow doing my thing. But to 10 people, to 100 people, you are a celebrity, because they follow you, they like your ideas. Everybody outside that little circle, you're Joe Blow, nobody. But inside that little circle, when you've got people that subscribe to your platform, whatever that means exactly, they think they know you to an extent that you don't know them.
It's what you're talking about is brand extension. Okay. Yes. which I constantly have to harp on to my clients. Yes. Okay. So you're starting a new business. You're going to be a consultant. So you need to write a book. Really? Yeah. Once you've written the book, you can't be a LinkedIn Learning presenter, teacher, unless you have written a book. So that would be the next step. Then you need to speak at conferences. Then you need to keynote conferences. You need to be on panels. Maybe you need to teach a workshop or a course. How many ways can you get the word out to your target audience who could say, oh, I'm so glad I found out about you. Yeah, I could use you. I would like to hire you. Our company would like to hire you. So that's what you're doing. And yes, celebrity matters. It does. And I'm this much of a celebrity, but I have a certain name and standing in my field. And I don't care really in terms of business that the whole world knows me. It's not that kind of celebrity. Okay. It's celebrity in the education market, in the career market, that people, oh, we could use this guy. Yeah. So it's always my job to be present for them using different media. Doing a podcast, doing a radio interview, doing the LinkedIn Learning courses, writing a book, speaking on panels, whatever it happens to be. I almost always say yes, because it's a way for me to get the word out. And it's not about my celebrity. It's about, I believe I have something to contribute to people out there. Just like anybody writing a doctoral dissertation, once they get their doctorate, it's not about the dissertation. It's not even about the degree. It's about what you can contribute to the world in your field. They need you. Forget about you. It's always about them. So that's what this is for.
And one of the ways to really get over the fact that I don't like certain aspects of the marketing and so forth is, if you really are passionate about what you do and who you serve, then getting them to hire you for work is, some folks would call it a moral imperative. You can help them. And if you are standing in the way of them getting your help because you're not getting the word out, you're hurting these people that you're trying to help.
That's right. That's right. Get your nonsense out of the way. It's all about them. They need you. Yes. So your job is to let them know that you're available. So I tell people, you're not unemployed, you're available. It's a much nicer spin to that. Yeah. Yes. But really, it's about other people. It's about contributing to others. Muhammad Ali said, service is the rent we pay for our space here on earth.
Very cool.
Yeah, it is about service to other people. So, my closing words to people fighting or still struggling with their dissertation: get the darn thing done, okay? Because you have more important work to do. Okay, once you're over the hump on that and you've got the doctorate and you've finished the bloody dissertation, okay, now it's time to really get to work. Okay, it's a speed bump, cut it out. Okay, do whatever you have to do, collaborate with other people, but you have a mission in life which is based on the dissertation and all the work you did in your doctoral program, and people are waiting.
That's right. People are waiting. They're waiting for you, according to Dr. Austin. So, Dr. Austin, thank you very much for joining us here today. Tell me, people want to find out more. They're all in the gig economy and they want to reach out to you and add more pearls of wisdom. What do they do to find you?
Two ways. They can go to my website, which is chazaustin.com, CHAZAUSTIN.com, or find me on LinkedIn. Again, I can't connect, but you can follow me, Dr. Chaz Austin, EDD.
All right. So we will put the links to both your website and the LinkedIn profile in our show notes. And so if you want to read that, you can go to our blog on dissertationdone.com/blog and find Dr. Austin's episode there. Again, thank you so much for joining me here today, Dr. Austin.
Thank you, Dr. Strickland. Wonderful questions. It was great to chat with you. Really appreciate it. Thank you. I thank you. And I'll remind everyone that today's episode has been brought to you by Dissertation Done. So if you do feel like you are a little slowed, stalled, or just plain stuck in the dissertation process, reach out to us at dissertationdone.com/done. Even better, if you're approaching the dissertation process and you don't want to be slowed, stalled, or just plain stuck, reach out to us ahead of time. And if you want to write that book that Dr. Austin was talking about so that you can really be taken very credibly in this gig economy, reach out to us at dissertationdone.com/book, and we'll get you in our Expand Your Authority program.
Again, Dr. Austin, thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And to everyone else, have a wonderful day and go out and live your unconventional life.
This has been An Unconventional Life. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe now to keep getting inspirational stories of unconventional lives as soon as they're released. Until then, go out and live your best unconventional life.